Hello students, how are you? You know that we have already completed the chapter that is matter around us pure, and now today we will start a new chapter that is atoms and molecules. As per the syllabus, you know that not whole chapter is coming, only up to the law of chemical combination, and today we will learn about those law. Now tell me, what is matter? We know the matter is something that occupies space and possess mass. And this matter in among the odds, there are so many matters around us, like beat air, beat air, beat NaCl, beat anything. Okay. Now tell me, these matters are also reacting. So when, or I'm better to say, this matter which we call compound or which we call element, these elements and compounds are reacting. Now tell me, when they react, do they follow certain law, or they just react in a opposite way? No, they don't react in a opposite way. Whenever they undergo chemical reaction, they follow a certain law. They follow certain law. And what a law? This law is called law of chemical combination. So whenever these matters, or I must say that elements or compounds react with each other, they always follow the certain law, and that law is law of chemical combination. And under this law, there comes the two law. This law of conservation of mass, law of constant proportion, and there are also, it is not confined only to, there are also other three, like I must say, like law of multiple proportion, law of, another one is so law of reciprocal proportion, and one more law is Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes. So these are the 5 laws that comes under this law of chemical combination. In this chapter, only in your syllabus, these two laws are only there. The other 3 laws we will learn in the higher classes, that I must say in class 11. So for now only we will learn about the law of conservation of mass and the law of constant proportion and what this law states. So let's see. As we know, we have gone through what are the laws that comes under this law of chemical combination, and in this chapter, since we were going to learn about only these two, so let's see what this law states. First comes the law of conservation of mass. It states that whenever matter is reacting with another matter, two reactants, whenever there are two reactions, the total mass before the reaction and after the reaction will remain same. Or in a better way, or in a general way, we can say that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. So to this we can say that before and after reaction, the overall mass, the total mass of the system will remain same. So let's see what the law of conservation of mass states. Mass states, like as we have learned, we have heard that an energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. Similarly, we can say mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. From this statement, we can conclude that before and after reaction, the overall mass will remain same. Such as, suppose you are taking A plus B and it is a product. A reacting with B and giving us a product. So this is reactant and this is product. Okay, suppose the overall mass the total mass of the reactant, be something, suppose 10 gram. Then in the product also, after reaction also, we will find the overall mass or the total mass will be 10 gram only. This is what law of conservation of mass states. Now comes to the law of constant proportion. Remember when we learn about the definition of compound, what it states that whenever the different elements combine together, they combine together in a definite proportion. This is what the law of constant proportion states. What states? A pure chemical compound. Pure chemical compound means a particular compound. A pure chemical compound contains same element, and these elements combine together in a definite proportion by mass. That means what it states? It states that take a particular chemical compound from different sources, and you will see it contains the same element that are combined together in a definite proportion by mass. Not only by the number of atoms also they are combining, but also in the definite proportion of mass. For example, experimentally it was proved that if you take a 9 gram of water and undergo the electrolysis, it was observed that after electrolysis it has given us a 1 gram of hydrogen gas and 8 gram of O2 gas. Now see, and not only take this water from any source, take it from a glaciers, take it from a lake, take it from a tap water and run electrolysis over it. You will find, and same amount of water take and run electrolysis over it, you will find the same ratio. You will find the same ratio of hydrogen and oxygen gas being released. That is 1:8. And at the same time, just can you see? Now see, let's prove this law of conservation of mass. You are taking the mass of the reactant is 9. Now after reaction also, the mass of product is 9. See, the overall mass is same. Before and after reaction, the overall mass is same. And at the same time, take this water from any source, you will get, and at the same amount also, you will get the ratio of hydrogen gas and oxygen gas released is 1:8. That means we can say that a pure water, take it from any source like rivers, tap water or from tap water etc. It will always contain the hydrogen and oxygen in a definite proportion, that is 1:8 proportion by mass. So we have understood what these laws state. Now let's do some activity that are given in NCERT. Now comes to activity 3.1 given in NCERT. 3.1 NCERT page number 31. Is what it states that take one of the following set X and Y of the chemicals X and Y and prepare the separately a 5% solution of any one pair of the substances under X and Y each in a 10 ml in water. Take a little amount of solution of Y and a conical flask and some solution of X. Hang the ignition tube in a flask carefully. See that the solution do not get mixed and put a cork on the flask. Okay, let's do it. So first it was given a copper sulfate and sodium carbonate. So it is let's take the first set, that is copper sulfate and sodium carbonate. What will happen since they are now separated way, now you shake it. Once you started shaking, you will see that this solution will get mixed and they will undergo the reaction. and after undergoing a reaction, what will form? They will form copper carbonate and sodium sulfate. This earlier the copper sulfate solution was blue color solution. After the reaction, and this was colorless. This was colorless. It was a colorless solution. After the reaction, you will see this copper sulfate blue color solution has turned into a green. And also, and at the same time, turn into green, and at the same time, this, and also a small precipitate. A solid green color substances is settling down. Precipitate is also formed, and this Na2SO4 is remain in the solution. So whenever you will check their masses after the reaction, before the mass of the reaction was 2.68, and after the reaction, the mass of this, the overall mass of the system will be 2.68 only. So before and after reaction, the mass of the both reactant and the product will remain same. And this is what law of chemical combination, that is law of conservation of mass state, that before and after reaction the mass is remain same, that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. But remember one thing, that is the overall mass remains same, but it does not state that the individual masses will also remain same. No, it is not necessary. If the individual mass of the copper sulfate was 1.25 gram, it is not so necessary the product form, that is copper carbonate, will also possess the same mass. It is not necessary. So overall mass will remain same, but individual masses between before reaction and after reaction will not be same. What is a precipitate? Precipitate is a solid substances that settle down after the reaction. A solid substances settle down after the reaction. See, there are two type of, we also say that the substance that settle down, that is called sediment, but that is a physical, that we are doing separation, and that is a physical. Now whenever you come to a chemical reaction, that is a chemical change, if a solid substance is settled down, we call it a precipitate. So a green color solution turns to green, and also green color precipitate is also formed. And to indicate that what is precipitate, we put a arrow that is showing in a downward direction. So this is what happened for the set 1. Next, let's check to the set 2. Now comes to set 2, that is, take a barium chloride of mass 1.22 gram and a sodium sulfate of mass 1.53 grams. What you will see when they will react? So whenever you form a solution, suppose you are forming a solution, that is barium chloride and sodium sulfate, the solution, it is a colorless solution, and it is also a colorless solution. Now when you are mixing them, you will see, as soon as you mix these two solutions, you will find a white color solid substances is formed, and at the same time this white color substances is settling down. What this white color substances? This white color substances is a barium sulfate, which is a white color substances insoluble in water, and it settles down if you keep it for a long time. And another substance is formed, NaCl, sodium chloride, that remain in the solution. Now, since after the reaction, when you evaporate the solution, since you evaporate all the solution, and now you check their masses, what you will see, that before reaction the mass was 2.575 gram. After evaporating the water from the solution, from from the system, you will see the overall mass, the mass of these two compound gives that 2.75 gram. 2.75 gram. So what you are seeing, that it is following the law of chemical combination, that is law of conservation of mass, that before and after reaction remain the same. But individual, as I told you, individual masses can be different, but the overall mass and overall mass of the reactant and the product will remain same. Now comes to the third one, that is third set. Now let's take lead nitrate, third set, that is lead nitrate and sodium chloride. The mass that we have taken 2.07 and one is 1.17. Now these two solutions are colorless solution. These two are colorless solution and are soluble in water. Now when you are mixing these two solutions, they will react, and as soon as they react, you will see again the white precipitate is forming. A white precipitate is forming, and this white precipitate is of which compound? This lead chloride. This lead chloride forms a white precipitate because it is insoluble in water. It is insoluble in water. So white precipitate is due to the formation of the lead chloride, which is insoluble in water and will settle down. And the second compound that is formed, that is sodium nitrate, it remains in the solution. As you can see that after every reaction, you have seen in the three of the sets and in three sets only you have seen that after every reaction, one is giving precipitate and other one is remaining in the solution. Now what about the mass? Now before reaction you have taken these masses, and with these masses you have formed a solution. Now after evaporating the water in the solution, the total substance, the overall mass you will get, the overall mass of the product you will get is 3.24 only. So before and after reaction, the mass of the reactant, the overall mass of the reactant and the overall mass of the product will remain same. And this is what law of conservation of mass states, that before and after reaction, the total mass, the overall mass, not individual, the overall mass remain same. Now we have gone through that it follows the law of conservation of mass, but apart from that also, can you see anything common in these three reactions apart from that law of conservation of mass? Any common? One common is, it is after every reaction, one is precipitate, one is forming a precipitate, another one is remaining in the solution. That means one is insoluble in water and other one is soluble in water and remain in the solution. This is one common. And another common is that these, every compound, the cations, the metals you are seeing, they are exchanging their anions. Earlier the copper was combined with the SO4 and the sodium was combined with the carbonate ion. Now after reaction you see they interchanged. Here also barium combined with sulfate and sodium combined with chlorine. Here also Pb combined with Cl and Na is combining with NO3. See, every reaction. You know what reaction this is called? This is called displacement reaction. This is double displacement reaction. Double displacement reaction. And what it states? It states that when a pair of compounds, ions or when I say cations of pair of compounds exchange their anions, they give us a new set of compound in which one will be insoluble in nature and other will be insoluble, will remain in the solution, and this reaction is called double displacement reaction, and sometimes it is also called precipitation reaction. Precipitation reaction. Why I am telling precipitate? Because see, these are all forming a precipitate. They are coming out of the solution because they are insoluble in nature and they are settling down and giving us precipitate. So that is a reaction. That is why it is called the precipitation reaction. So this type of reaction is called double displacement and a precipitation reaction. Double displacement because see, it is double displacement means what? Replacing. I am replacing other. So here two cations, since two cations, if one is replacing other, we call it displacement. If two are replacing each other, so we are calling it a double displacement. See, one cation displacing this Na plus is displacing SO4, displacing Cu and forming a Na2SO4, but at the same time this copper is also displacing sodium and forming a copper carbonate. So two displacement is happening. So thereby that is why it is called a double displacement reaction, which states that when cations of a compounds exchange their anions and give us a new set of compound is called double displacement reaction, and sometimes it is called precipitation reaction because it is forming a precipitate at the end of the reaction. Okay, so now let's start give a few idea of Dalton's atomic theory. Now comes to Dalton's atomic theory. How this Dalton atomic theory, how John Dalton came across this theory? After observing these laws, the law of chemical combination that we have came across, came across only 2 laws, but there are 5 laws total. After going through these 5 laws, he proposed a Dalton atomic theory. Now let's see that what this Dalton's atomic theory states, that matter is made up of tiniest particle, that is atoms. Tiniest particle, that is atoms. Atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. Now see, atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. It has come from which law? Law of conservation of mass. Now tell me, this matter is made up of tiny particle and matter possesses mass. And this matter possesses mass because of what? Because of whom? Because of this atom only. This atom will also possess mass. And accumulation and the summation of this atom, mass of these atoms will give the mass to the matter. Will give mass to the matter. If the mass of the matter can neither be created nor be destroyed, then how the atoms can be destroyed? So in the same way we can say, if mass can neither be created nor be destroyed, the atom possesses mass, so atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. See, as I told you that after observing those laws, he proposed this theory. Second is, atoms cannot be further divided. Atoms of same element will possess the same property, that is chemical and physical, and are identical. You take iron from anywhere, you will see that iron will have the same property. Take iron nail or take an iron rod, both will have the same property and are identical. Atoms of different elements possess a different properties. Yes, take iron and take aluminium. These are both different. Though they are metal, but they also differ in physical property. How? This aluminium is a very good conductor than iron. So among metals also there is also difference in conductivity. Like copper, silver is the best conductor. Then copper, then aluminium. So you can see, and atoms combine in a definite ratio to give a compound. This is also, now tell me from where this has come. This has come from law of constant proportion, which state the same only, that the compound contains the same, a particular compound will contain the same element and will be combined together in a definite ratio by mass. And this is what this has stated in a Dalton's atomic theory. So by observing this law, he proposed this theory. Now, as we all know that there are also drawbacks in this law, because earlier there were no advanced technology. After 100 years, this law was proposed at the 1803. Just think of it, that era. There was no electricity, there was no advanced technology. In that also he proposed this. And I must say, the laws that we are seeing, it was also proposed something around 1790 or somewhere around. See, with not so much opportunities, with not so much proper equipments, they are able to give these laws. And from that, Dalton has proposed this theory. After, I must say, almost after 100 years, near about a century, these laws were proved wrong. And these laws were proved wrong when the neutrons and protons and electrons were discovered, and even when isobars and isotopes were discovered. So there are also some drawbacks, but even after bringing a drawback, these laws were modified. It's not like that it is it has been modified. These theories has been modified, and they have given us a modern atomic theory, which we will discuss in the next class.